I'm Ariana Grande.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Erivo.
And you're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
Visit bpn.fm to discover more.
There's a cat over here. There's a cat over there. And the wrong one died. And the wrong one died.
Welcome to The Wrong Cat Died, the podcast breakdown of the catastrophe. I'm your host, Mike Abrams, and today we have another amazing guest. I'm excited because he's a fellow Hoosier, and he was Coricopat in a swing on the U.S. National Tour 5, Monkish Trap regionally, and then in the Cats chorus in the 2016 revival of Cats. So welcome, Lucas Thompson. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
I'm excited. It's rare. I don't usually run into other Hoosiers, and we have a mutual friend who put us in touch together. So that was like a very fun, small world kind of moment. But I'm excited to talk about cats with you.
Likewise, it's a small little colony of cats that we are. So yeah, I'm glad we got put in touch. It's
a Jellicle family. So let's start with the beginning. I know you were a dancer growing up. What was your history with cats? Did you see the 1998 movie? Were you singing it, dancing it? Like, what was your introduction to it?
You know, it's funny. So I grew up being a pretty serious ballet dancer, and I remember a couple friends playing the VHS at a sleepover here and there, and it looked cool, it looked interesting, but I didn't really think about it at all. And I kind of sort of transitioned out of dancing really seriously into kind of opera singing. I went to school and grad school for that, and when I got done, I thought, I think I kind of want to weave these two art forms together and do musical theater, which is kind of where my heart's always been. And when I moved to New York, I was catering, temping as you do, and I had a couple friends who said, oh my gosh, they're looking for a couple swings on the Cats tour. We're going to go. You should go too. And I thought, me, Cats? But I mean, I guess, you know. So I just... I really have those two friends to thank. So I showed up to the audition for them and went through a couple rounds of callbacks and then booked it. And I thought, amazing. I guess I'm going to be dancing the Jellicle ball.
Okay, so you have two friends to thank that basically talked you into doing it, and you got cast. What was the audition process? Was it super tough and detailed? Like how hard was it for you?
I remember going to a dance call. So we did part of the ball. We did some of the kind of iconic Jillian Lynn choreography. Yeah. That felt so fun and so invigorating. And there is kind of a balletic shellac on the choreography that was sort of in my body. But it felt so freeing to kind of explore the felinity of it. And then, you know, they would ask people to stay and sing, kind of sing from their books. We all have these audition cuts that we have ready. And I remember at one callback, Kristen Blodgett, who's kind of the music supervisor for a lot of Andrew Lloyd Webber shows, she, you know, because I was being considered for a swing, I sang one thing and then she goes, I want to hear a little bit of this pop and rock song and a little bit of this. So she came over to the piano. And at that time, I really didn't understand what a big deal she was, or you know, and now she's a dear friend, and I just think the world of her. But she came and sat down at the piano and said, "Okay, sing this from your book and do this." I think they just wanted to be sure that I could sort of find all these different personalities, these different cats that were going to be required of me.
Yeah. Who did you cover? It's not listed, and most of the time it's listed with who you covered, but
I couldn't find it. I think. So obviously, you know, I went on a third of the time as Coricopat. Then I covered Skimble Shakes, Alonzo, Monkish Trap. Other adult cats I'm thinking. I actually was a cover for Gus as well. I did go on, and I was even a kind of a last resort cover for Old Deuteronomy.
Wow. You covered everyone but the kittens, basically.
Play-Doh McCavity was another one I covered. Yeah, basically all the adult cats, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Did you have a favorite to go on for?
It was fun being bad. So it was fun to kind of be Play-Doh McCavity. It was fun to cause chaos. You know, we don't get to do that in life. So it's, art and the stage is a fun place to explore that. So definitely that was fun.
I love asking these questions of swings because the concept of swing was foreign to me until this podcast. And I always think about, like, as an actor, is it the personality that you're not that's the most fun to kind of lean into, or is it this is me, and I just get to play as me on stage. Like, is it one of those extremes, or is it just some other version that like really brings you the energy?
I definitely think what is appealing about swinging is that it really helps keep the show feeling fresh for you.
Yeah.
You know, you do get to kind of explore these different sides of your personality. It is easy to kind of identify with ones that are similar to you too. I've never sat in a track in Cats for that long to kind of feel that way. Even Coricopat, you know, we were kind of turning over so much, and it was fun to explore all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's okay. So you do this for a full year, right? A 1 year on tour, go all around the country. And like, where is this in your career at that point? Is this really early? Is this kind of like right away?
Super early. I had just moved to New York, basically. I had been there for a couple months, and then I left, which I was really excited about. I thought, what a great opportunity. I have nothing to lose. I was wanting to build some credits on my resume. And funny enough, a lot of the people on that artistic team that I worked with are responsible for a lot of big projects later for me. So I felt like it was very kismet that way. And, you know, there's nothing like touring as far as building a family. You know, we really did become kind of a Jellicle family. And some of those friends of mine are my absolute best friends in the world. They're, you know, they're my kind of New York family. They're my theater family. So it was very early. And because I hadn't gone to a musical theater program too, it was a little bit of a crash course in how that worked. I had come from these classical arts like opera and ballet. And I really appreciated sort of learning from everybody about, oh, this is kind of how things are done in the theater world. So it was really good for me to do that.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because I think there's like the 9-to-5ers, if that's people you know and your family members and everything, it's already hard enough to explain what your job is.
Yeah.
And then you add in cats to that of like, I'm going to travel around the country in a cat costume.
Oh, yeah.
8 times a week, you know, like it's just like one of those extreme, fascinating kind of like additions to an already challenging piece. Oh
yeah. I mean, even telling people you're doing Cats, telling friends who are in the business, you know, it already has sort of its own stigma to it. And I always say being in Cats is very different than seeing Cats if you haven't been in it. It's a really different experience. It's sort of a soulful, sort of a kind of sacred experience almost to me.
No, I agree. I kind of feel that way just having had this show, because the first time I saw it was I know nothing. I know memory, and that was it. You know, like I don't really know what I'm walking in. I knew the punchlines. And then I went to see the tour 100 episodes later, which is, I mean, 3 or 4 years later. And I felt like the same thing. Like I felt like I had done enough of the conversations and research, not at the same level you all being in it. Like that's a whole different experience. But I felt like, oh, this is a whole different appreciation for what's happening on stage and what's happening with the like moments between characters and everything. So it is kind of it's a show that if you see it once, it's probably really, really hard to follow what you're doing. But if you're, you know, in the super fans and all the stuff that exists out there, if you really break it down, it's a very thoughtful show. I always wonder though, how thoughtful was it? Like in the 80s, I don't think some of these things were being thought of at that level that they've turned into.
Yeah.
And I think that some of that's just like, it just worked out well.
I think so too. I mean, it was funny during rehearsals. I remember, you know, we would do a group warm up, and then we actually did probably 10 to 15 minutes of felinity every day, where we really just pretended to be cats. And our director, Richard Stafford, who had been a part of the Broadway show, he kind of would throw these little tidbits out at us about the relationships between cats. And, you know, for me, who was really pretty unfamiliar with the show itself, and especially the relationships between these cats, you know, it was really helpful. But I did wonder where that folklore had come from, if that had developed over time, or if that's something that, you know, Trevor Nunn, Jillian, and Andrew had all kind of come up with themselves.
My take on that now is there are definitive yes answers.
Yes.
And there's a lot that's the like telephone game between productions. Because I'll always go back to this example, but I made a meme. It's kind of been a year ago at this point, and it was just Bomb Ballerina and Demeter, and it was something slightly sexual as a meme, and a bunch of people were like, "That's gross, they're sisters." And then a bunch of people are like, "No, they're not sisters. They might be dating. They could be, or they're they're friends." Yeah. And so I put a poll up, and I got a 50-50 split.
Yeah.
And so I just think there's somewhere it's like, that's ambiguous cast to cast. That is definitive from the folklore. And I kind of love that, because then there's also the examples of where these people were friends. These people have a showmance happening, so their characters maybe seem like they're dating more than, and they're not historically dating.
Yeah.
And like there's just that, all of those different things that come into play that make the things unique, because it isn't definitive. And as long as you hit your marks, you sing your songs, and you don't like take a wild turn into, there's no way that this, like McCavity's not all of a sudden good today.
Right.
We know some of those things have to happen. You have that freedom to kind of play a little bit more than you do in other shows.
Oh, absolutely.
So what do you like, we're going to put the memory to the test here, but what do you remember for some of those relationships? And I really think like this is, you haven't thought about this for a while, I'm sure. What's the thing that was like, oh, I'll never forget this. Like, I just never thought about, like, would have never thought about that relationship, or never like assume those two cats were together, or that this is father and son and daughter and mother and whatever that is.
I mean, to be honest, I couldn't really, you find out fast how sexual the show is.
Yeah.
I mean, really, this is sort of a tribe. There's sort of a lot of pagan kind of stark imagery in it. I mean, there's a sort of a loss of innocence for a character like Victoria. There are really adult themes in it that you don't think about as, when you think about cats being sort of for kids. But there's a lot of sort of complicated emotions and relationships happening. And I remember being really surprised by that, especially talking so frankly about it in rehearsal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely a few where I have to be careful with some of these, because social media, if TikTok's around by the time this comes out, but I've had audio turned off because I remember saying they have an orgy and then one gets murdered. And I'm like, immediately turn off that audio. But the one thing is, there's two definitive things that I've heard that nobody seems to argue with, that are Victoria is basically losing her virginity on stage during the lift, and that Demeter has been abused sexually. And I'm like, that's our only two definitive things that like we agree on. Like how is that across all productions we know that that's true, and it's not these more like, oh, these are sisters, type of like this is a dad and son type of thing. It's like, no, those two are it, and we're having an orgy at the ball.
Exactly. Yeah. Trauma and sex.
Yeah, the 80s.
Yeah,
the
exactly.
80s in a nutshell.
Yeah.
I want to come back to some of the theories and thoughts and the stories, but I want to keep going in the cat's history, because then you later go on in a regional production, and it's marked as Alonzo in everything I've read, but it sounds like it's not the case.
Yeah, so this was a really interesting story, and this is sort of the exciting thing about theater. I had been cast in North Shore's production of Cats as Alonzo, which I was really excited about. We rehearsed in New York for 3 weeks. We get to rehearsal the day before we're supposed to actually trek to Boston to tech and put up the show. And our Munkustrap walks in on crutches. He had been running and stepped on a piece of glass, I think. Something had sort of, or a nail had gone through his foot. I mean, he could not put any weight on one of his legs. And, I think our director had a bit of a freak out moment, but he called me over and he said, how would you feel about stepping into Munkustrap? I said, sure. It was both exciting and petrifying, because they had reintroduced a big song of Munkustrap's about the dogs, and the Peaks and Pollicle song was back in the show that I had not done on our tour. And so, it was sort of starting from scratch, learning a big, long, kind of complicated Panther song. I thought, oh, can I do this? But I spent the entire bus ride on the way to Boston the next day, just memorizing it, getting it in my voice, and trying to make some choices. And it it was thrilling and terrifying, but it worked out well. And it was great to prove to myself that I could work under pressure like that. And then we had kind of, they sort of divided up the Alonzo choreography among other cats so that it sort of got covered. But no more Alonzo.
Interesting. So they just totally got rid of the Alonzo part. 'Cause there's no time to backfill. And there's probably not a swing or an understudy type of situation for a regional. What was it like? How many weeks? 3 or 4 weeks?
Yeah, probably 2.5, 3 weeks of shows. And this is pre-pandemic where they definitely didn't have swings in regional houses. So we were just all doing our best. And, everybody else rallied so well too, picking up choreo. Oh, I don't know this, but I'm going to do this little feature Alonzo does. I'm doing the lift and the ball with Victoria. It was my
question. Like he has the lift, right? So that's the one you have to really replace.
Yeah. But we had lots of fabulous people there to step in. So
do you remember who lifted?
I think it ended up being Coricopat, which was my dear friend Jesse Thatcher played Coricopat. I believe so. They might be able to correct me.
So here's my question with that scenario. It's such a theater moment too, right? Like nobody in the audience has any idea that you've cut a character 24 hours ago and all this stuff is new. But if you asked a super fan who is watching this from a plot perspective, and like the way I think about it, you just dramatically changed the story because Alonzo was the one who is taking Victoria's virginity, essentially, in that number. And now you're giving it to one of the twins who have a vastly different storyline and arc that you're doing. And it's like, I bet no thought goes into that. It's just like, who physically can lift her, right? Like, who could do the dance number? But from a storytelling perspective, you dramatically changed the story.
Oh, yeah. I mean, but sometimes it's just logistics. We need a body. We need a capable partner. We need someone who can do this lift safely, and we'll invent our own little way of motivating that.
So do you talk about that side of it? Like, hey, today, not the first show, like obviously just get through it, but now it's like, all right, do I need to make any character decisions that changes because this person's now lifting this person? I
don't remember thinking about that at all. Yeah, I don't think so. You'd have to ask the other cats. Maybe they had to.
Okay,
but,
let me ask this a slightly different way then. How much thought as a swing when you were on tour went into, I've got to embody this character? Not just from like, oh, I got to be a little bit more bad and mischievous today, but like, all right, I'm the cavity today. I got to do this kind of moment with the meter, and these are my brothers here. And like, do you think about that when you're doing it that many times for a full year, or does it just become muscle memory of like, I just got to go out there and deliver the show today?
There were certain tracks where I got to go on enough. I remember, obviously I went on for Coricopat all the time, but I also remember going on for Play My Cavity a lot. And I felt like I got to sort of develop a language that lived in my body for a while. A lot of the others were sort of one-offs. I think I performed Alonzo once. I never performed Monkish Trap because our Monkish Trap never called off. Wow. I think I did Skimble one time. I did, Rum Tum Tugger one time. So those kind of performances, you're really thinking logistics, safety. Yeah. Are you in the right spot? Are you being a capable partner for somebody? You definitely want to show up as the character, but it sort of takes a bit of a backseat to the logistics and safety of things.
Don't kick somebody.
Exactly. Don't kick somebody. Yeah. Be in the right spot. It really, that's the really tough thing about swinging is swings are usually really super detail oriented, which I am. And you want to be operating at a 10 the first time you go on. You want to go on and be perfect. You want to be living. You want to be present. But you just can't be. And so you have to have some grace with yourself about that. Just knowing, okay, if truly the show is successful, if I don't get hurt, we don't stop the show, and no one else gets hurt. And then you can kind of build on that. But that's tough for all of us in the business because, everybody wants to be doing their absolute best all the time.
Yeah. I'm glad that swings have gotten their moment in the spotlight too of late, because when I had no idea what a swing was. Like I just, I was like, oh, this person's not on today. And then I learned, I'm like, wait, you're doing like and especially in cats, I talked to someone, it's like, well, at 2:00 I did Bon Ballerina and at 8:00 I did Demeter. And I'm like, how?
Oh yeah.
Like, how do you do the opposite side of the same song with mirrored dancing? Like that is a skill. That is an incredible skill that it takes to be able to do that physically and mentally and successfully. And so I'm so glad that people are like seeing the importance of swings, but also just like respecting the skill that it takes. Like it's very different to be able to do that.
Definitely. And I would say for me, the hardest part sometimes is the emotional part of not being on stage all the time. Mm-hmm. Luckily with tour, we got to go on a third of the week as the twins. And so we had the choreography in our bodies. We had relationships with people on stage in the playing company. So we felt a little bit more intertwined, and it was easier when we would go on for another role to sort of understand where we were. Yeah. Whereas, I've swung a couple other times where you are only going on when you're needed. And then you just, it is a whirlwind with the lights, and you're in a costume and makeup. It's all these firsts, and you're also kind of trying to figure out all the backstage choreography too. The sets are moving. Luckily with cats, the set never changes. But it's a rock star of a job. I mean, it is not for the faint of heart, but it is really satisfying.
We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back for more of The Wrong Cat Died. So now let's fast forward to 2000. I think it was 17 you did it for the revival, right? Yeah. So how does that come about? And again, another show that I didn't know about a booth singer until this show, and it doesn't seem like it's very common in other shows.
It's definitely not. Although usually in Cats, when we weren't on for, like on tour, when you're not on for a role, you are singing in a vocal booth off stage. Yeah. Can I help plump up the sound? Which was also the case for the revival. And I think what had happened at that point is that, as with a show that's as physical as Cats, a lot of people were injured or sick, and the coverage was so low that they were lacking in a little bit of vocal power in the booth. So they just needed some singers. Kristen Blodgett, who is the music supervisor for that production, who I've worked with a lot, gave me a ring. She called me and asked if I'd want to come, and it ended up being my Broadway debut, which was kind of surreal. But magical. It was really fun to come full circle with a show that had meant so much to me. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a little bit freeing to not have to go in and put on the whole makeup plot and everything, and just like, let's just go sing this thing.
Oh yeah.
Down the booth.
Definitely. Just scrult the house down and not have to worry about, not worry keeping your body warm the whole show and putting the makeup on. Although the ritual of that is really special, but 8 times a week, it gets old kind of fast. Yeah. So Broadway debut, you said you only did it for a couple weeks. Just a couple weeks. So it was a quickie, in and out. But nice. But it still just felt really special to be able to kind of be in the building with those artists and sing that score again.
Yeah. Is there anything different? Because that's a whole different choreography. Like that's with Andy Blankenbuehler.
Right.
So is there any differences in the booth singing of having to hit certain points at certain marks, or is it really pretty similar because the score hasn't really changed?
Yeah, I would say it was pretty similar to sing. I remember, it's funny how some of that vocal muscle memory was still in my chords a little bit. When I was sort of rehearsing and remembering these cutoffs and these crisp consonants here. Yeah, I think the intention of the music stayed the same. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to, we talked a lot about relationships and different things, but one of my favorite things is to put you on the spot here a little bit and hear what are some of your favorite tour memories, like the stories that will never leave your mind because you're doing crazy stuff all over the country for, a full year.
Oh my gosh. Some onstage memories. I remember being in really small towns with small theaters where our full set really couldn't even fit on stage. Yeah. So they had to cut certain parts of the set. We'd be without an oven, without a tire, and they'd actually have to cut dance numbers. People in the dance numbers would have to kind of, they'd cut the back rows or cut the sides a little bit.
Wow.
So I just remember having to kind of really be kind of on it. And just there was something a little exciting about that just sort of would reinvigorate you after you had been doing the exact same show over and over again.
Is that a little freeing because of how physically demanding it is, where it's like, hey, I get like a 3-minute break here because I can't fit on stage?
Oh, you better believe it. Yeah. I think people really, it was nice to have a little reprieve from the end of the ball when you're barely getting through it.
Yeah.
I have a billion offstage fun memories. I mean, again, some of the people I toured with are my absolute best friends in the world, and they're family.
Yeah.
Yeah. So lots of laughs backstage. I mean, I remember sort of changing lyrics to the song to Dirty Ones and just getting into a laughing fit with Cass. Yeah, lots and lots of fun memories.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was there any like on stage, like you said smaller theaters, was there any times where like tire didn't go up, or we just had like some of those like crazy super memorable one night shows that happened?
Anytime we didn't have the full set, that was always an adventure. I don't know. I'm sure there was a time the tire didn't go up. I don't remember it though.
Okay.
Not being on stage every night kind of, my memories are a little limited too, because I was still singing my heart out backstage.
And then I always love asking, what was your favorite tour stop? And I asked least favorite, but if you don't want to throw a city under the bus, maybe a place where the audience wasn't, or not the audience. Let's not throw the audience on the bus either, but just where was your favorite and least favorite tour stops?
Well, it was always nice to be in sunny California.
Yeah.
It just was, the sun and the air was good on your body. We were usually there for a week too, which on a non-union tour is pretty rare. We had a ton of one-nighters.
Yeah.
Being out west was really fun. I don't really think I had a city that I didn't enjoy. I remember having some of my own performances where I didn't think I did my best. I was debuting a track or a role, and so I have some memories of that. But those are more. You
associate
personal.
the town with. I feel the same.
Yes.
So I have a town in Indiana where I grew up where I won't throw them under the bus, but I got kicked out of a hockey game there that I don't believe was warranted, and I still to this day hate the town. And I'm like, it has nothing to do with the town. It has nothing to do with the city. I'm just like, I have bad memories there, and I will associate that with that town from here on out.
Oh, for sure. That's exactly how I feel.
Did you go anywhere near home? Like, did you have the whole family in town kind of come to see you experience?
I did, thankfully. I wasn't necessarily super close to home, but we did stop. We were in Chicago for 3 weeks.
Okay. That's close.
Or actually maybe just a week. But yeah, that's just a couple hours from where I grew up in Indiana. And my mom's from Chicago, so it was a pretty easy trek for everybody to make.
Yeah.
And that was so special. I think they were kind of really seeing me perform at a professional level in an iconic show. And I've always had a super supportive family, but that was absolutely special. So
this is the crux of my Jellicle choice challenge, is that the reason I want a different Jellicle choice is I want a different one every night, because imagine the night that you're on with your whole family in the crowd if you got to be the Jellicle choice.
Oh yeah. That's like the American Idol style, baby, That's
how I want it to happen, because then everyone comes to Chicago, they take that 2.5 hour drive up from Indiana for you, and it's like, not only do you get to do your show, but like you get that moment after memory to be spotlight on you.
Right up into the heavy side layer.
I want that.
Yeah. Yeah. I've never thought about it that way. That's the rock concert version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do some rapid fire about cats then. So
sure.
You've done a lot of tracks, but if you could go on one night, any track, doesn't matter, male, female, if you could do it, if it's in your range, if you could dance it, just you could do one night, who do you want to perform as?
Oh, Grizabella for sure.
Just go on and go out a few minutes on stage, sing memory, go up, get your applause and leave. Okay.
Well, and that there's so many beautiful moments in the show, but I think her story about it involves the forgiveness she has to have for herself, and then the forgiveness that the tribe has for her. It is the emotional power of the show. It's the emotional core of the show. I think when people come and they see Cats and they're kind of seeing all these little vignettes and they're sort of confused, I think her story is one that they latch onto. It's one I certainly latch onto. So,
okay.
And I mean, who doesn't want to just be on stage for 12 minutes and sing a glorious, epic ballad, you know?
Yeah. Okay. This is not good for my last question, but I do appreciate the answer. Favorite and least favorite cat, and from the angle of if you were hanging out with them, which one would be your best friend on tour, and which one would kind of personality-wise bug you a little?
Oh my gosh. I definitely think one of those kittens would bug the hell out of me. Probably like a tumble Brutus, just hopping around all the time, being crazy. I would probably get along with like a Demeter, kind of a sweet, maybe a little skittish. We're a little careful, but we can kind of go off in our own little corner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Favorite song in the show?
Oh gosh, it's really a lot of I think the choral singing, the big ensemble singing is really fabulous. I mean, the opening number is just really exciting. So it is, Jellicle Cats. And then of course, Memory is iconic too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, this is my fun one. I always ask a fun one. And since we both went to Indiana University and our basketball team is a disaster right now, but our football team was really good this year. So which cat do you think would be the best Indiana University football player?
Oh, wow.
I think there's two answers. I've thought about this way more than I should have.
Well, I think McCavity could pull one over. He'd have a play up his, ready. He'd be,
okay.
Yeah. What's yours? What do you say?
So it depends on how I've casted cats into a lot of different sports. I haven't done football yet as much, but I think Bustopher Jones is one of the linemen, like one of the big guys up front. I do think McCavity is probably somewhere on defense.
For sure.
Like stealing anything we can.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think the Tugger and Mustaflis has got to be insanely fast. And so maybe a wide receiver.
Yeah.
I think Tumble Brutus is probably pretty good at football in some capacity. I think Alonzo could be too. Like, there's a lot. But I immediately was like, I just need Bustopher Jones on my line.
Yeah,
I'm good to go.
Just
run the ball behind him.
Yeah.
Okay, the $1 million question, I'm a little worried about your answer now based on some of your other answers, but I've argued at length I don't think Grizabella is the right Jellicle choice. So I want to hear, who is your Jellicle choice and why?
I may disappoint you, but I've never really thought twice about Grizabella being the choice. I feel like it's the heart of the show, and yeah.
So let me ask you this follow-up question then.
Yeah.
What is the Heaviside Layer to you?
I think it's a place of rebirth. I think it's a place of being able to kind of shed your shame. I feel like you can let go of your pain. It's a place of solace. It's a place of peace. And I feel like everybody else is doing pretty well in comparison to her. But I'm curious to know who are you so impassioned to send up there?
So this started with a joke that I thought this was X Factor on drugs, and I wanted to send a boy band up, so it's going to be Tugger Mustaflis.
Yeah.
Because I just think it'd be fun. And I do still, to this day, want what I mentioned earlier, which is an audience voting style production to where you do the whole show the same. Grizabella gets welcome back to the tribe, but then you pause and you vote on who delivered that night. And I think about the time when your whole family drove up from Indiana to Chicago, like, you got a good chance of winning that night. And just, you go up that night, and then the show ends the same way. Like, it's the same show. I don't want to get rid of Grizabella's redemption arc or that heart of the show, but I think you can make a different choice. And I think it depends on what you define the Heaviside Layer. Where I still sit today, mostly, is that I don't think Grizabella, I think she has more time left, and I think she needs that family to, like, take her back in. I think she needs that redemption. I think her story shouldn't change. I just don't want to kill her right away. Like, let her spend a year with the family. Like, let her have that time to have that redemption. Like, she just finally, like, was accepted back. And it's like, all right, cool, go. And I think, and mostly this is because I've seen a lot of tours, the Grizabellas are just naturally younger by the nature of the business, that I'm like, they don't look ready to die. Like they're not done. So I'd send Gus, who does feel like he's ready to go.
Yeah.
then
I
that's
can get
my
behind
argument.
that. You definitely could get behind that.
I'll still give your Grizz vote in the, in the numbers. I keep track of everything. But that's kind of where I am. But I'm, to this day, my only goal left on this podcast is to convince a show to make a different Jellicle choice one night. And it's like, it can be the whole same story, but I want someone else to go up on that tower.
Okay, I love it. Well, make it happen.
I know some people in the cats world, so I keep saying this enough, and I keep bugging people. I know there's a production happening in Illinois. There's one happening in Pennsylvania. There's a couple regional ones coming up, and I'm like, it's time. It's time.
All right.
We can do this. I will fly to wherever you need to be there for rehearsals to just have that one night, one change.
I love it.
But we'll see. This has been super fun. How can people stay in touch with you on social media or website or whatever else you're working on?
I'm on Instagram at Lucas John Thompson, and you can also go to my website at lucasjohnthompson.com.
Awesome. This has been so fun. Cool to have another Hoosier on here. So thank you for coming on and sharing your experience.
Thank you so much. It's been great to connect.
Awesome. And thanks everyone else for listening to this episode of The Wrong Cat Died, the podcast breakdown of catastrophe. To follow along, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any else of the podcast. Social media is a mess, so whatever is left between Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Twitter, whatever, at The Wrong Cat Died, or check our website, thewrongcatdied.com.